Imagine, if you will, a world where you are the master of your emotional state, where the turbulent seas of reaction no longer toss you about like a helpless vessel. This world, my dear listeners, is not a distant utopia, but the very reality that awaits your conscious creation. For you see, the power to shape your emotional landscape lies not in the external world, but in the fertile soil of your own magnificent imagination. Let us begin our journey by understanding a fundamental truth. Your outer world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. Every circumstance, every person, every event that you encounter in your daily life is but a mirror, showing you the contents of your own consciousness. When you react to these outer circumstances, you are, in essence, reacting to your own creation. You are allowing the shadow to dictate to the substance, the effect to control the cause. But I say unto you, you are not a helpless victim of your emotions. You are the operant power, the only creative force in your universe. Your emotions, no matter how intense or overwhelming they may seem, are subject to your command. They are the servants, not the masters of your being. And it is through the power of your imagination that you can assert your dominion over them. Consider for a moment the last time you found yourself in the grip of a strong emotional reaction. Perhaps it was anger at the perceived slight, fear in the face of uncertainty, or despair in the wake of disappointment. In that moment, did you not feel as though you were at the mercy of these emotions? Did you not experience them as an irresistible force, compelling you to act in ways that perhaps you later regretted? This, my friends, is the illusion that we must shatter. For your emotions, no matter how real they may feel, are nothing more than habits of thought and reaction that you have cultivated over time. They are patterns etched into the fabric of your consciousness by repeated use. But just as you have created these patterns, so too can you unmake them and forge new ones in their place. The key to this transformation lies in understanding the true nature of your being. You are not your emotions. You are not your thoughts. You are not even the body that you inhabit. You are pure awareness, the unchanging witness to all that arises within your consciousness. This awareness, this I am, is your true self. And it is from this vantage point that you can observe and ultimately master your emotional state. When you identify with your emotions, when you say, I am angry or I am afraid, you are clothing yourself in a garment that does not truly belong to you. You are limiting the infinite potential of your being to a narrow and constricting definition. But when you recognize that you are the awareness in which these emotions arise, you reclaim your power to choose your response. Let me share with you a technique that I have found immensely powerful in cultivating this awareness. Throughout your day, whenever you notice an emotional reaction arising within you, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath and silently affirm to yourself, I am aware of this emotion. Do not judge it. Do not try to change it. Simply observe it with detached curiosity. As you practice this, you will begin to create a space between your awareness and the emotion itself. This space is the fertile ground in which your power of choice can take root and flourish. For in this space, you will find the freedom to respond rather than react, to choose your emotional state rather than being swept away by it. But awareness alone is not enough. To truly master your emotions, to harness the power of not reacting, you must learn to use your imagination to shape your inner world. For it is your imagination, not your will, that is the true creative force in your life. Whenever you find yourself faced with a situation that would normally trigger an emotional reaction, pause and ask yourself this question. How would I feel if I were already the person who has mastered their emotions? Close your eyes and imagine, with all the vividness you can muster, that you are that person. Feel the calm confidence that comes with emotional mastery. Experience the sense of inner peace and stability that arises when you are no longer at the mercy of your reactions. As you immerse yourself in this imaginal scene, you are impressing upon your subconscious mind a new pattern of being. You are planting a seed that, nurtured by your faith and watered by your persistent imagination, will grow into the very reality you desire. For remember, my dear listeners, your imagination is not creating something new. It is simply revealing what already exists within you. The power of this practice lies in its ability to shift your state of consciousness. For you see, your emotional reactions are not caused by external circumstances, but by the state of consciousness from which you view those circumstances. Change the state, and you change the reaction. It is as simple and as profound as that. But let me warn you, this practice requires persistence and faith. You may not see results immediately, for the habits of a lifetime are not undone in a day. But I assure you, if you persist in this practice, if you remain faithful to your imaginal act, you will begin to see changes in your outer world. For the outer must conform to the inner. It is law. As you cultivate this practice, you will find that situations which once would have thrown you into emotional turmoil now barely ripple the surface of your inner calm. You will discover a newfound freedom, a sense of mastery over your own being that will transform every aspect of your life. Imagine, if you will, how your relationships would change if you no longer reacted from a place of insecurity or fear. Picture the opportunities that would open up to you in your career if you could remain calm and centered in the face of challenges. Envision the sense of peace and fulfillment that would permeate your life when you are no longer at the mercy of your emotional reactions. This, my friends, is the promise of emotional mastery. This is the power that lies dormant within you, waiting to be awakened by the touch of your imagination. But let us delve deeper into this mystery, for the power of not reacting extends far beyond mere emotional control. It is, in truth, the key to unlocking the very nature of your reality. For you see, your reactions to the world around you are the brushstrokes with which you paint your experience of life. When you react unconsciously, you are allowing circumstances to dictate the content of your consciousness. But when you choose your response consciously, you become the author of your own story. Consider for a moment the last time you received news that you perceived as negative. Perhaps it was a setback in your career, a health challenge, or a conflict in a relationship. In that moment, did you not feel as though your emotional reaction was inevitable, even justified? Did you not feel as though the circumstance itself demanded a particular response? This, my dear listeners, is a great illusion that keeps us bound to the wheel of unconscious reaction. For in truth, no external circumstance has the power to determine your emotional state. Your reaction is always a choice, even if it is a choice made unconsciously based on habit and conditioning. When you truly understand this, when you internalize this truth at the deepest level of your being, you will have taken the first step towards true freedom. For you will realize that you are not a victim of circumstances, but the creator of your own experience. Let me offer you another technique to help you cultivate this understanding. Throughout your day, whenever you encounter a situation that would normally trigger an emotional reaction, pause and ask yourself this question. How else could I choose to see this? Allow your imagination to present you with alternative perspectives. Perhaps what seems like a setback is actually an opportunity in disguise. Maybe the person who seems to be opposing you is, in fact, playing a role in your growth and development. As you practice this, you will begin to see that your interpretation of events, not the events themselves, determines your emotional response. And your interpretation is always a choice. This realization is profoundly liberating, for it places the power squarely in your hands. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances, but the conscious creator of your own emotional landscape. But let us go even further, for the power of not reacting extends beyond mere interpretation. It is, in fact, the gateway to a profound shift in consciousness. When you cease to react unconsciously to the world around you, you create a space in which a new awareness can emerge. This awareness is not bound by the limitations of your conditioned mind. It is not confined to the narrow perspective of the ego. It is, in truth, the awareness of your true self, the I am that is one with the infinite creative power of the universe. In this space of non-reaction, you may begin to perceive reality in a radically different way. You may start to see that the world around you is not fixed and unchangeable, but fluid and responsive to your consciousness. You may realize that what you once perceived as separate and external is, in fact, an extension of your own being. This shift in perception is the true aim of emotional mastery. For when you no longer react unconsciously to the world around you, you create the conditions for a new kind of action to emerge, an action that springs not from conditioning or habit, but from the depths of your true self. This action is spontaneous, creative, and aligned with the highest good of all. Imagine, if you will, how your life would transform if every action you took came from this place of deep alignment. Picture the impact you could have on the world around you if you were no longer driven by unconscious reactions, but moved by the wisdom of your true self. Envision the sense of purpose and fulfillment that would infuse your days when you are living from this state of conscious creation. This, my friends, is the promise of the power of not reacting. This is the potential that lies within each of you, waiting to be realized. But let me be clear, this is not a path for the faint of heart. It requires courage to face your own reactions without flinching. It demands persistence to continue the practice even when old habits seem insurmountable. And above all, it calls for faith. Faith in the power of your own imagination, faith in the wisdom of your true self, faith in the fundamental goodness of the universe. Yet I assure you, the rewards of this path are beyond measure. For as you master the art of not reacting, as you learn to control your emotions through the power of your imagination, you will discover a freedom that few have ever known. You will tap into a wellspring of creativity and power that will transform not only your own life, but the lives of all those around you. Let us now explore how this power of not reacting can be applied in your daily life. For it is in the crucible of everyday experience that this practice is truly tested and refined. Consider your interactions with others. How often do you find yourself reacting automatically to the words or actions of those around you? Perhaps a colleague's criticism triggers a defensive response. Maybe a loved one's behavior provokes feelings of anger or resentment. In these moments, you have a choice. You can allow the habitual reaction to play out, or you can pause, step back into awareness, and choose a different response. When you choose not to react, you create a space in which true communication can occur. You allow yourself to truly listen, to understand the other person's perspective without the distortion of your own emotional filters. From this space, you can respond with wisdom and compassion in a way that serves the highest good of all involved. This practice can transform your relationships in profound ways. Imagine how your interactions would change if you were no longer triggered by the words or actions of others. Picture the depth of understanding and connection that could develop when you are able to listen without judgment, to respond without reactivity. This is the power that lies within your grasp. But the applications of this practice extend far beyond personal relationships. Consider how it could transform your professional life. In the fast-paced, high-pressure world of business, emotional reactivity can be a significant liability. It can cloud your judgment, impair your decision-making, and damage important relationships. But when you cultivate the power of not reacting, you develop a remarkable ability to remain calm and centered, even in the face of challenges and setbacks. You become able to see opportunities where others see only obstacles. You can make decisions based on clarity and wisdom rather than fear or anger. Imagine yourself in a high-stakes negotiation, facing an aggressive opponent. In the past, their tactics might have provoked an emotional reaction, causing you to lose your composure and potentially the deal. But now, having cultivated the power of not reacting, you remain calm and centered. You see through their aggressive posturing to the underlying needs and fears driving their behavior. From this place of clarity, you can navigate the negotiation with skill and grace, achieving an outcome that serves all parties. This is not mere fantasy, my friends. This is the real-world power of emotional mastery. This is the transformation that awaits you as you cultivate the art of not reacting. But let us go deeper still, for the power of not reacting holds the key to an even more profound transformation. As you practice this art, as you learn to observe your emotions without being swept away by them, you will begin to notice something remarkable. You will start to see that your emotions, no matter how intense or overwhelming they may seem, are not solid, unchanging entities. They are, in fact, fluid, ever-changing experiences arising in the field of your awareness. This realization is profoundly liberating, for when you truly see the ephemeral nature of your emotions, you will no longer be compelled to cling to them or push them away. You will be able to experience them fully without resistance, knowing that, like all things, they too shall pass. From this place of non-resistance, a new kind of emotional intelligence begins to emerge. You become able to use your emotions as valuable sources of information and energy, rather than being used by them. You can harness the passion of anger to fuel positive change, channel the energy of fear to focused action, transmute the heaviness of sadness into deep compassion. Imagine how your life would transform if you could relate to your emotions in this way. Picture the sense of freedom and empowerment that would arise when you no longer fear any emotional state, knowing that you have the capacity to experience it fully and use it wisely. This, my friends, is the true mastery that awaits you on this path. But let me be clear. This mastery does not mean suppressing or denying your emotions. Quite the contrary. It means developing the capacity to feel more deeply, more fully than ever before. For when you are no longer afraid of your emotions, when you no longer need to defend against them, you can open yourself to the full spectrum of human experience. This opening, this willingness to feel deeply, is the gateway to a life of richness and depth that few ever experience. It allows you to connect more authentically with others, to appreciate the beauty of life more fully, to love more deeply and fearlessly. Imagine how your relationships would blossom if you could bring this emotional depth and authenticity to them. Picture the impact you could have on the world if you could feel the pain of others without being overwhelmed. If you could channel your passion and compassion into effective action. This is the promise of emotional mastery. This is the transformation that awaits you as you cultivate the power of not reacting. But there is more, my dear listeners. For as you deepen in this practice, as you become more and more established in the art of not reacting, you will begin to touch upon a truth that is both profoundly simple and endlessly mysterious. You will start to realize that beneath the ever-changing flow of thoughts and emotions, beneath the myriad experiences that make up your life, there is a constant, unchanging presence. This presence is your true self, the I am that I spoke of earlier. It is the awareness in which all experiences arise and subside. It is the silent witness that remains unchanged amidst the drama of life. As you learn to rest in this presence, to identify with it rather than with the contents of your consciousness, you will discover a peace that passes all understanding. From this place of deep peace, life begins to unfold in a new way. The struggles and dramas that once seemed so important begin to lose their grip. You find yourself moving through life with a sense of ease and grace, responding to each moment with wisdom and compassion. This, my friends, is the ultimate fruit of the practice of not reacting. It is nothing less than the discovery of your true nature, the realization of your oneness with the infinite creative power of the universe. But let me be clear, this realization is not an endpoint, but a beginning. It is not a state to be achieved and then clung to, but a living reality to be embodied more and more fully each day. It is a journey of endless unfolding, of ever-deepening understanding and expression. As you walk this path, you will find that the power of not reacting becomes as natural as breathing. It becomes not something you do, but simply what you are. You become a living embodiment of peace, a beacon of wisdom and compassion in a world that sorely needs these qualities. Imagine the impact you could have on the world from this place of deep alignment with your true nature. Picture the ripple effects that would spread out from your presence, touching the lives of all those you encounter. Envision a world in which more and more people are awakening to this power within themselves, choosing conscious response over unconscious reaction. This, my dear friends, is the world that we are here to create. This is the transformation that is possible when we harness the power of our imagination, when we master the art of not reacting. As we draw this talk to a close, I want to leave you with a simple but powerful practice. Each night, as you lay down to sleep, take a few moments to review your day. Notice the times when you reacted unconsciously, when you were swept away by your emotions. Don't judge these moments, simply observe them with compassion. Then, using the power of your imagination, revisit these scenes, but this time see yourself responding from a place of emotional mastery. Feel the calm, the clarity, the wisdom that flows through you in these imagined scenarios. Experience the positive outcomes that arise from your conscious response. As you fall asleep, carry this imagery with you into your slumber. Allow your subconscious mind to work with these new patterns throughout the night. For remember, your imagination, especially when combined with a relaxed state of sleep, is a powerful tool for reshaping your consciousness. With consistent practice, you will find that this imaginal exercise begins to bear fruit in your waking life. You will discover yourself naturally responding with more wisdom and grace in challenging situations. You will feel a growing sense of mastery over your emotional state. But remember, this is not about achieving perfection. There will still be times when you react unconsciously, when you are caught off guard by your emotions. When this happens, don't blame yourself. Instead, celebrate. For each time you notice your reaction, you are strengthening your awareness. Each moment of unconsciousness that you recognize is an opportunity for growth and deeper understanding. My dear friends, the power to transform your life lies within you. It is not something to be acquired, but something to be realized and expressed. The art of not reacting, the mastery of your emotions, is your birthright. It is the key that unlocks the door to a life of freedom, purpose, and deep fulfillment. As you leave this gathering today, I urge you to carry this understanding with you. Let it infuse every aspect of your life. Practice the art of not reacting in your daily interactions. Use your imagination to cultivate emotional mastery. Above all, have faith in the process. Trust in the wisdom of your true self to guide you on this journey. Remember, you are not your reactions. You are not your emotions. You are the awareness in which all these experiences arise. You are the I am one with the infinite creative power of the universe. As you align more and more fully with this truth, you will find yourself naturally expressing the qualities of love, wisdom, and compassion that are your true nature. Go forth, my friends, and be the living embodiment of this truth. Let your presence be a blessing to all those you encounter. For as you master the art of not reacting, as you learn to control your emotions through the power of your imagination, you become a force for positive transformation in the world. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Today, you have taken that step. You have set your foot upon the path of emotional mastery, of conscious creation. The road ahead may not always be easy, but I assure you, it is infinitely rewarding. As you continue on this journey, know that you are not alone. The same power that flows through me flows through you. The same wisdom that guides me guides you. We are one in the depths of our being, united in the grand adventure of awakening to our true nature. So go now with courage and faith to live the truth that you have heard today. Let your life be a testament to the power of conscious response, of emotional mastery. Let your presence in the world be a reminder to all of the divine potential that resides within each of us. For in mastering the art of not reacting and learning to control your emotions, you are doing more than just improving your own life. You are participating in the evolution of consciousness itself. You are playing your part in the grand unfolding of life's endless potential. This, my dear friends, is your calling. This is your destiny. Embrace it with all your heart and watch as miracles unfold in your life. Thank you for your attention, for your willingness to explore these profound truths. May your journey be blessed with insight, growth, and ever-deepening realization of your true nature. Until we meet again, remember, you are the operant power in your world. Use it wisely, use it lovingly, and watch as your life transforms in ways you never thought possible. This secret is encapsulated in 5 powerful words. Be silent, anything that you want will happen. Now you might be wondering, what does it mean to be silent? And how can silence possibly bring about the manifestation of our deepest desires? My dear friends, the silence I speak of is not merely the absence of sound, but a state of being, a profound inner quietude that allows the creative power within you to work its magic. In this silence, you will find the birthplace of all creation. It is the womb of the universe, the void from which all things emerge. When you learn to cultivate this silence, to nurture it within yourself, you tap into the very source of all that is, was, and ever will be. But let me be clear, this is not a passive silence. It is not a state of inaction or resignation. No, the silence I speak of is alive, vibrant, and pulsing with creative energy. It is a silence filled with the certainty of your desire fulfilled. A silence pregnant with possibility. Imagine, if you will, a seed planted in the earth. Does it make a sound as it grows? Does it announce its intentions to the world? No, it grows in silence, pushing through the soil, reaching for the sun, all without a whisper. And yet in that silence, a miracle unfolds. From a tiny seed emerges a mighty oak, a beautiful flower, or a bountiful fruit tree. Your desires, my friends, are like that seed. They do not need to be shouted from the rooftops or constantly verbalized. In fact, the more you speak of them, the more you rob them their power. Instead, plant them in the fertile soil of your imagination, water them with the certainty of their fulfillment, and then be silent. Allow them to grow in the secret, sacred space of your inner world. This silence is not about suppressing your desires or denying their existence. On the contrary, it's about giving them the space and energy they need to manifest. When you constantly speak about what you want, when you continually focus on the lack of it in your life, you're essentially telling the universe, this is what I don't have. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, continues to reflect that lack back to you. But when you plant your desire in silence, when you nurture it in the quiet certainty of its fulfillment, you're sending a different message. You're saying to the universe, this is already mine. It is done. And the universe has no choice but to conform to this new reality you've created within yourself. Let me share with you a story that illustrates this principle. There was once a man who desperately wanted a promotion at work. He talked about it constantly, telling anyone who'd listen about how much he deserved it, how hard he had worked, and how unfair it was that he hadn't received it yet. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and still the promotion eluded him. Then one day he heard these very words we're discussing today. He decided to try a different approach. He stopped talking about the promotion altogether. Instead, he went into the silence of his imagination. There he saw himself sitting in the new office, felt the pride and satisfaction of his new position, heard the congratulations of his colleagues. He lived from the end, experiencing the fulfillment of his desire as a present fact. In his outer world, he continued to work diligently, but he no longer spoke of the promotion. He no longer complained about not having it. He simply knew in the depths of his being that it was already his. And do you know what happened? Within a month, he was called into his boss's office and offered the very position he had been imagining. This, my friends, is the power of silence. It is the power of living from the end, of experiencing your desire fulfilled in the inner world of imagination. For when you do this, when you truly embody the feeling of your wish fulfilled, the outer world has no choice but to reshape itself to match your intent. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Neville, isn't this just positive thinking? Isn't this just another version of the power of positive thought? And to that I say emphatically no. This is not mere positive thinking. This is not about trying to consult that something good might happen. This is about knowing with absolute certainty that what you desire is already yours. You see, in the realm of imagination, there is no future. There is only the eternal now. When you enter into the silence of your imagination and experience your desire as fulfilled, you are not hoping for a future event. You are experiencing a present reality. And it is this present experience, this living from the end, that has the power to reshape your world. Let me explain further. The world you see around you, the circumstances of your life, are nothing more than the outpicturing of your estates. Your consciousness is the only reality. Everything else, your job, your relationships, your financial situation, these are all shadows, reflections of what you hold to be true in your imagination. So when you enter into the silence and live from the end, experiencing your desire as fulfilled, you are quite literally changing your world from the inside out. You are impressing upon the subconscious mind a new concept of self, a new pattern of thinking and being. And your subconscious mind, which knows no difference between what is vividly imagined and what is actually experienced in the outer world, begins to work tirelessly to bring about the conditions that match this new self-concept. This, my dear friends, is why silence is so powerful. In silence, you are free from the limitations of your current circumstances. In silence, you are free from the doubts and fears that may plague your waking mind. In silence, you are free to be, to experience, to live as the person who has already achieved their heart's desire. But let me be clear, this silence, this living from the end, is not a one-time event. It's not something you do once and then sit back and wait for results. No, it is a state of being that you must return to again and again until it becomes your natural way of existing in the world. Think of it like this. If you were to plant a seed and then immediately after see if it had grown, what would happen? The seed would never have the chance to take root, to sprout, to grow into the magnificent plant it was meant to be. In the same way, if you enter into the silence, experience your desires fulfilled, and then immediately return to your old patterns of thinking and speaking, constantly checking to see if your desire has manifested, you rob it of the very energy it needs to come into being. Instead, you must trust in the process. You must have faith in the power of your imagination. You must know with every fiber of your being that what you have experienced in the silence of your imagination is more real, more true than anything you can see or touch in the outer world. This brings us to another crucial aspect of being silent, letting go. Once you have planted the seed of your desire in the fertile soil of your imagination, once you have lived from the end and experienced it as fulfilled, you must let it go. Release it into the hands of the universe, trusting that the same power that turns an acorn into an oak tree, that turns a caterpillar into a butterfly, will bring your desire into manifestation. This letting go is not about forgetting your desire or no longer wanting it. It's about releasing the anxiety, the doubt, the need to control how and when it will come about. It's about surrendering to the wisdom of the universe, knowing that it has infinite ways of bringing about what you desire, ways that your limited human mind could never conceive of. Remember, the universe is not constrained by what you consider possible or probable. It operates according to laws that transcend human understanding. Your job is not to figure out how your desire will manifest. Your job is simply to live from the end, to be the person who already has what they desire, and to trust in the perfect unfolding of divine timing. Now, some of you might be wondering, but Neville, what if I have multiple desires? What if there are many things I want to manifest in my life? And to that I say, wonderful. The creative power within you is limitless. It is not constrained by time or space or the number of desires you hold in your heart. However, I would caution you against trying to focus on too many things at once. Remember, the power lies in your ability to live from the end, to fully embody the feeling of your desire fulfilled. This becomes more challenging when you're juggling multiple desires. Instead, I suggest you focus on one primary desire at a time. Choose the one that, if fulfilled, would have the greatest positive impact on your life. Then enter into the silence and live from the end of that desire fulfilled. As you do this, you may find that many of your other desires naturally fall into place. For when you change your concept of self at a fundamental level, every aspect of your life begins to shift to align with this new self-concept. Let's delve deeper into this concept of living from the end. What does it really mean to live although your desire is already fulfilled? It means assuming the feeling, the state of consciousness of the person who already has what you desire. If your desire is for financial abundance, then in the silence of your imagination, feel the peace and security that comes with having more than enough. Feel the joy of being able to buy what you want when you want. Feel the satisfaction of being able to help others, to give generously. Embody these feelings so completely that when you open your eyes and return to your Santinov, if your desire is for a loving relationship, then in your imagination, feel the warmth of your partner's embrace. Feel the joy of shared laughter, the comfort of deep understanding. Feel the satisfaction of giving and receiving love freely and fully. Let these feelings permeate your being so completely that you carry the energy of love with you wherever you go. If your desire is for a successful career, then in your inner world, feel the pride of achievement. Feel the satisfaction of doing work you love. Feel the respect and admiration of your colleagues. Embody these feelings so thoroughly that you begin to carry yourself with the confidence and poise of someone who is already successful. The key here is feeling. Your feelings are the secret to your power. They are the language of the subconscious mind, the fuel that powers your manifestations. When you can genuinely feel as though your desire is fulfilled, when you can maintain that feeling regardless of your outer circumstances, you have mastered the art of creation. Now I can hear some of you thinking, but Neville, this sounds like self-deception. Aren't we just fooling ourselves? And to that I say emphatically no. You are not deceiving yourself. You are aligning yourself with a higher truth, a deeper reality. You see, my dear friends, time is an illusion. The future you desire already exists in the infinite now of imagination. When you enter into the silence and live from the end, you are not creating something new. You are simply choosing to experience a reality that already exists. Think of it like this. I imagine you are in a dark room and there's a light switch on the wall. The electricity, the potential for light is already there. It exists whether the switch is on or off. When you flip the switch, you're not creating the light. You're simply choosing to experience it. In the same way, when you live from the end in your imagination, you're not creating your desire. You're choosing to experience it, to align yourself with it. This is why being silent is so crucial. When you constantly talk about what you want, when you focus on the lack of it in your life, you're essentially keeping the light switch off. You're choosing to experience the reality of not having. But when you go into the silence, when you live from the end and feel the joy of your desire fulfilled, you're flipping that switch. You're choosing to experience the reality where your desire is already manifest. Now I want to address something that many of you may be struggling with. You might be thinking, but Neville, I've tried this. I've imagined my desire fulfilled. I've tried to feel it real, but nothing has changed. What am I doing wrong? My dear friends, if this is you, I want you to know that you're not alone. Many people struggle with this at first. The key lies in persistence and in truly understanding what it means to live from the fan. You see, living from the end is not about visualizing your desire for a few minutes each day and then returning to your old patterns of thinking and being. It's about a fundamental shift in your self-concept. It's about becoming, in your imagination and in your feeling, the person who already has what you desire. This takes practice and dedication. It takes a willingness to challenge your old beliefs and patterns of thinking. But most of all, it takes faith. Faith not in some external power, but in the creative power of your own imagination. Remember, your imagination is not separate from reality. It is the very substance of reality. The world you see around you was once only imagined. Every invention, every work of art, every human achievement began as a seed in someone's imagination. Your desires are no different. They are the seeds of your future reality. waiting to be planted in the fertile soil of your imagination and nurtured in the silence of your being. So if you've been struggling, I urge you not to give up. Return to the silence. Go deeper into the feeling of your desire fulfilled. Make it more real, more vivid, more alive within you. And most importantly, persist. Persist in the face of every contrary appearance in your outer world. For it is your persistence, your unwavering faith in the reality of your amadat, that will ultimately bring it into manifestation. Now let's talk about another crucial aspect of this process, detachment. When I say be silent, anything that you wish will happen, the silence I'm referring to also includes a detachment from the how and when of your manifestation. You see, many people make the mistake of trying to control every aspect of their manifestation. They imagine their desire fulfilled, but then they start worrying about how it will come about. They start trying to manipulate people and circumstances to bring about their desire. But this is a form of doubt. It's a lack of faith in the power of your imaginal act. True silence, true faith means letting go of the need to control. It means trusting that the same intelligence that keeps your heart beating, that grows your hair and nails, that maintains the perfect balance of life on this planet, is more than capable of bringing your desire into manifestation in the perfect way and at the perfect time. This detachment is not indifference. It's not about not caring whether your desire manifests or not. Rather, it's about being so certain of its manifestation that you no longer feel the need to manipulate or control. It's about resting in the absolute knowing that what you have experienced in your imagination is more real than anything in your outer world, and that your outer world must by law conform to this inner reality. Let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Imagine you've ordered a package online. Once you've placed the order, do you sit by your mailbox day and night, worrying about whether the package will arrive? Do you call the shipping company every hour to check on its status? Of course not. You trust that the package is on its way. You go about your life knowing that it will arrive at the perfect time. This is the kind of detachment I'm talking about. Once you've placed your order with the universe by living from the end in your imagination, let it return. Trust that it's on its way. Go about your life from the state of consciousness of someone who already has what they desire. Now, this doesn't mean you become passive. You still take inspired action when it presents itself. But this action comes from a place of being, not from a place of lack or need. It's the natural expression of the new you, the you that is living from the end. Let's delve deeper into this concept of inspired action. When you're truly living from the end, when you fully embody the state of consciousness of having your desire fulfilled, you'll find that opportunities and inspirations naturally come to you. These are not actions you force or plan. They arise spontaneously from your new state of being. For instance, if you're living from the end of being financially abundant, you might suddenly feel inspired to start a new business venture. If you're living from the end of being in a loving relationship, you might feel moved to join a new social group where you'll meet like-minded people. These inspirations are your new state of consciousness expressing itself in your outer world. The key is to follow these inspirations without attachment to the outcome. You're not taking these actions to make your desire happen. You're taking them because they're the natural expression of who you now are in your imagination. This brings us to another important point, the role of action in this process. Some people misunderstand the principle of living from the end and think it means they should do nothing in their outer world. They believe that if they just imagine enough, their desire will magically appear without any effort on their part. But this is not what living from the end means. Living from the end doesn't negate action, it informs action. When you're truly living from the end, your actions naturally align with your desired state. You begin to act like the person who already has what you desire. If you're living from the end of being a successful author, for example, if you'll sit around waiting for a book to magically appear with your name on it, you write, you edit, you submit your work to publishers, but you do all of this from the state of consciousness of already being a successful author. You're not writing to become an author, you're writing because you are an author. This subtle shift in consciousness makes all the difference. It takes the struggle out of your actions. It aligns you with opportunities that support your new state of being. It allows you to act with confidence and certainty, knowing that you're not working towards your desire, but from your desire already fulfilled. Now, I want to address something that many of you may be grappling with. You might be thinking, but Neville, what about the evidence of my senses? How can I live from the end when everything in my outer world tells me that my desire is not yet fulfilled? This, my dear friends, is where faith comes in. Not blind faith, not wishful thinking, not faith, but faith based on understanding. Understanding that your senses show you the world that was, not the world that is becoming. Understanding that your imagination is the true substance of reality, and that what you see in your outer world is simply the shadow cast by your inner states. Your senses are wonderful servants, but they make poor masters. They can only show you what has been, what has already manifested. But your imagination shows you what can be, what is in the process of becoming. When you live from the end, when you experience your desire as fulfilled in your imagination, you are seeing with the eye of faith. You are perceiving a reality that your physical senses cannot yet detect, but which is nonetheless real and in the process of manifesting. This is why silence is so crucial. In the silence of your imagination, you are free from the limitations imposed by your senses. You are free to experience your desire as fulfilled, regardless of what your outer world is showing you. But make no mistake, this is not about denying your current reality or pretending that things are different than they are. It's about understanding that your current reality is the result of past thoughts and beliefs, and that by changing your inner state, you set in motion the forces that will change your outer world. Think of it like this. Your outer world is like a mirror, reflecting back to you your innermost thoughts and beliefs. When you change what's being reflected, your inner state, the reflection must change. It has no choice. This is law. So when your senses tell you that your desire is not yet fulfilled, don't argue with them. Don't try to convince yourself that what you're seeing isn't real. Instead, thank your senses for showing you what has been, and then return to the silence of your imagination where you can experience what will be. This is the true meaning of faith. It's not about believing despite evidence to the contrary. It's about knowing that the evidence of your imagination is more real, more substantial than anything your physical senses can show you. Now let's talk about something that many of you may be struggling with, the concept of time in relation to your manifestations. When I say be silent, anything that you wish will happen, many of you might be wondering, but when will it happen? How long do I have to wait? My dear friends, these questions, while natural, come from a misunderstanding of the nature of time and manifestation. You see, in the realm of imagination, there is no time. There is only the eternal now. When you truly live from the end, when you fully embody the state of your desire fulfilled, you're not waiting for anything to happen. It has already happened in the only place it ever could happen, in your consciousness. The appearance of your desire in your outer world is not the manifestation. It's merely the shadow, the outer reflection of what has already occurred within you. The true manifestation, the real creation, happens the moment you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and believe in its reality. From this perspective, there is no waiting. There is only being. Being the person who already has what you desire. Living from that state of consciousness. Allowing your outer world to catch up with your inner knowing. This is why patience is so important in this process. Not the kind of patience that comes from gritting your teeth and enduring until something happens, but the patience that comes from absolute knowing. The kind of patience you have when you've planted a seed. You don't stand over it, demanding that it grow faster. You trust in the natural process of growth, knowing that in its own perfect timing, the seed will sprout and grow into a magnificent plant. Your desires are like that seed. Once planted in the fertile soil of your imagination and nurtured with the feeling of their fulfillment, they will manifest in your outer world in their own perfect timing. Your job is not to make them grow faster, but to maintain the state of consciousness of already having them. This brings us to another important point, the concept of revision. Sometimes, despite our best efforts to live from the end, we find ourselves slipping back into old patterns of thinking and being. We might have moments of doubt, or we might react to our current circumstances in ways that contradict our desired state. When this happens, it's crucial not to berate yourself or to see it as a failure. Instead, use the power of revision. At the end of each day, review the events of your day in your imagination. If there were any moments where you reacted from a state of lack or limitation, revise them. See yourself responding from the state of your wish fulfilled. Feel how you would have felt, thought how you would have thought, if your desire was already manifest. This practice of revision serves two purposes. First, it reinforces your desired state of consciousness, helping you to more consistently live from the instinct. Second, it literally rewrites your subconscious memories. Remember, your subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between what you vividly imagine and what you actually experience. By revising your day in your imagination, you're literally changing your past, and in doing so, changing the trajectory of future. Now, I want to address something that many of you may be concerned about. You might be thinking, but Neville, isn't this selfish? Shouldn't I be focusing on helping others rather than manifesting my own desires? My dear friends, this is a common misconception, but it couldn't be further from the truth. You see, when you live from the end, when you embody the state of consciousness of your desire fulfilled, you become more, not less. You expand your capacity to give, to love, to serve. Think about it. If your desire is for financial abundance and you successfully manifest that abundance, aren't you in a better position to help others? If your desire is for radiant health and you manifest that health, aren't you better able to care for those around you? If your desire is for a fulfilling relationship and you manifest that relationship, don't you have more love to share with the world? You see, manifesting your desires is not about greed or selfishness. It's about becoming the fullest, most expanded version of yourself. It's about aligning yourself with the abundance of the universe so that you can be a channel for that abundance to flow to others. Moreover, when you master this principle of living from the end, you gain the ability to help others in profound ways. You can teach them this principle, showing them how to transform their own lives. You become a living example of what's possible when one aligns themselves with the creative power of their imagination. So never feel guilty about focusing on your desires. Your desires are not random. They are the universe speaking to you, showing you the direction of your growth and expansion. By fulfilling your desires, you are fulfilling your purpose, becoming more of who you truly are. And in doing so, you naturally uplift those around you. Now, as we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a challenge. For the next 30 days, I want you to commit to living from the end of your most cherished desire. Choose one desire, the one that resonates most deeply with you, and for the next 30 days, live as though it were already fulfilled. Each night before you go to sleep, enter into the silence of your imagination. See yourself in the scenario of your desire fulfilled. Feel the feelings you would feel if your desire were already manifest. Experience it with all your senses. Make it as real and as vivid as you possibly can. Then carry that feeling with you throughout your day. No matter what your outer circumstances show you, maintain the inner knowing that your desire is already yours. Be silent about it. Don't speak of it as something you want or need. Live from the state of already having it. If you find yourself slipping back into old patterns of thinking or being, don't berate yourself. Simply revise those moments in your imagination. See yourself responding from the state of a wish fulfilled. At the end of these 30 days, you will be amazed at the changes that have occurred, not just in your outer world, but in your inner world as well. You will have developed a new habit of consciousness, a new way of being in the world. Remember, my dear friends, you are not bound by your past or by your current circumstances. You are bound only by your imagination and your willingness to live from the state of your wish fulfilled. The power to change your life, to manifest your heart's desires, lies within you. It always has, and it always will. Let me tell you a great truth that most of the world has yet to comprehend. You are not what you appear to be. You are not this limited mortal being trapped in circumstances. You are all imagination, and imagination is God. Therefore, you are God in the most literal sense, temporarily occupying a garment of flesh to experience your own wonderful creation. And just as God can speak worlds into existence, you too possess this same creative power to speak your world into being. Now, I know this may seem fantastic to some of you, but I am not here to theorize or philosophize. I am here to share with you what I know to be true through my own experience and the experiences of countless others who have applied this law. The transformation you seek in 2025 is not something that will happen to you. It is something that must happen within you first. Consider this: when you go to your home tonight and prepare for sleep, you will naturally disappear from this world of Caesar. Your physical body will rest, but your consciousness, your true self, remains ever active, ever aware. This simple act of daily disappearance holds the key to your transformation. For in that state between waking and sleeping lies the most fertile soil for planting the seeds of your desires. Let me tell you exactly what I mean. When you desire to transform any aspect of your life, you must first learn to disappear from your current state of consciousness. Just as you naturally disappear from this world when you sleep, you must learn to disappear from your present concept of self. This is not a metaphor. I am speaking of an actual psychological technique that, when mastered, will transform your entire life with mathematical precision. Now let us delve deeper into this principle. The Bible, which is not a historical document but a psychological drama, tells us, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." This transformation is not something that happens gradually through external effort. It happens instantly when you succeed in disappearing from your current state of consciousness and occupying the state of your wish fulfilled. Think of it this way: right now you hold a certain concept for yourself. You may see yourself as lacking in some way, perhaps financially limited or unfulfilled in your relationships, or restricted in your career. This self-concept feels solid and real because you have given it life through your attention and belief. But I tell you, it is nothing more than a garment you have worn so long you have forgotten it. It's not your true self. The secret to transformation in 2025 lies not in adding something new to your current state, but in completely disappearing from it. You must die to your present concept of self. And this death is not a physical death, but a psychological one. It is the complete abandonment of all that you now consider yourself to be. Let me share with you a simple but powerful technique. Tonight, when you lay your head upon your pillow, instead of reviewing the day's events or worrying about tomorrow, consciously choose to disappear from your present circumstances. Feel yourself sink deeper and deeper into the awareness of being who you wish to be. Do not think of how you will become this person. That is the old way of thinking that keeps you bound to your current state. Instead, yield completely to the feeling of being your desired self. If you wish to be wealthy, feel the naturalness of wealth. If you seek perfect health, feel the lightness and vitality of a perfectly healthy body. If you desire a loving relationship, feel the warmth and security of being deeply loved. The secret is to persist in this feeling until it becomes more real to you than your physical surroundings. You see, in 2025, you are not trying to change things in the world of Caesar. You are claiming your rightful place as the operant power of your universe. The outer world, no matter how solid it appears, is nothing more than a shadow, a reflection of your inner assumptions. Change the assumption, and you change the reflection. This is the law. I am reminded of a lady who came to me in dire circumstances. She was facing financial ruin, her relationships were in shambles, and her health was failing. She asked me what she should do to change her life. I told her exactly what I'm telling you now. Disappear completely from that state. She looked at me bewildered, expecting some complex system of affirmations or external actions. But I told her, your outer world is nothing more than your inner conversations objectified. Change your inner conversation, and you change everything. She began to practice this principle. Each night before sleep, she would disappear completely from her troubled state and assume the feeling of being the person she wished to be. She would feel the satisfaction of financial abundance, the joy of harmonious relationships, the vitality of perfect health. Within 3 months, her entire world transformed. Money came to her through unexpected channels. Her relationships healed in ways she could never have planned, and her health restored itself naturally. This was not coincidence or luck. It was the perfect working of law. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Neville, my circumstances are different. You don't understand my particular situation? I tell you, circumstances do not matter. Your current situation, no matter how desperate or seemingly permanent, is nothing more than a shadow cast by your previous assumptions. Change the assumption, and the shadow must change. In 2025, you must learn to distinguish between what Blake called the reality and its shadow. Your true reality is not what your senses show you. It is what your imagination claims it to be. The world of Caesar, with all its limitations and problems, is merely a shadow. You are the light casting that shadow, and you can change it at will by changing your conception of self. Let me give you a specific technique for this transformation. I call it the art of assumption. When you wish to transform any aspect of your life, you must first ask yourself, how would I feel if I were already the person I wish to be? Then, in that quiet moment before sleep, you must generate that feeling with all the intensity you can muster. Do not worry about the how. The how is not your concern. Your only task is to remain faithful to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. The infinite intelligence within you, call it God, call it your subconscious mind, call it what you will, knows exactly how to bring about the conditions necessary for the fulfillment of your desire. Remember, in 2025, you are not trying to make things happen. You are allowing them to happen by assuming the right state of consciousness. This is why I tell you to disappear from your present state. As long as you remain mentally tied to your current circumstances, trying to improve them or fight against them, you perpetuate them. Consider the story of the prodigal son. This parable is not about a wayward youth who physically returned home. It is about consciousness returning to its rightful state. The far country where he wasted his substance is the state of consciousness where you currently find yourself if you are not experiencing your desires. The Father's house where there is abundance and joy is the state of consciousness you wish to occupy. The journey home is not a physical journey, but a psychological one. It is the journey of disappearing from one state of consciousness and appearing in another. And just as the father in the parable did not ask where the son had been or what he had done, your own wonderful human imagination does not care about your past or your present circumstances. It only responds to what you are conscious of being now. In 2025, you must learn to be ruthless with yourself in this regard. When you catch yourself thinking from your old state of consciousness, thinking thoughts of limitation or lack, you must immediately disappear from that state. Do not fight these thoughts. Fighting them gives them power. Simply withdraw your attention from them and place it fully on the feeling of your wish fulfilled. This is what the scripture means when it says, leave the dead to bury their dead. Your old states of consciousness, your old problems and limitations are the dead. Let them bury themselves. Your task is to occupy the new state, to live from the assumption that what you desire is already yours. Now let me share with you another vital aspect of this transformation. Your outer world is nothing more than your inner conversations objectified. What are you saying to yourself throughout the day? What mental conversations do you carry on with others? These conversations, these inner debates and discussions, are creating your future experiences. In 2025, you must become aware of these inner conversations and deliberately change them to align with your desires. If you wish to be wealthy, What kinds of conversations would you have if you were already wealthy? If you seek perfect health, what would your inner dialogue be if you were already in perfect health? Begin now to have these conversations internally. This is not pretense or self-deception. This is the actual creative process by which your world is formed. Your inner conversations are the breeding ground of your future experiences. Change the conversation and you change the experience. This is law. Remember, the Bible tells us, in the beginning was the Word. This is not referring to spoken words, but to your inner speech, your self-talk, your mental conversations. These are the words that create your world. In 2025, become conscious of these conversations and deliberately choose ones that imply the fulfillment of your desires. Let me tell you of a gentleman who came to me seeking to transform his career. He was stuck in a position he hated, feeling trapped and unable to advance. I told him to change his inner conversations about his work. Instead of mentally complaining about his current position, he began to have inner conversations implying he was already in his desired position. He would mentally hear congratulations from colleagues, discuss his new responsibilities with imaginary co-workers, feel the satisfaction of doing work he loved. Within weeks, an opportunity appeared that perfectly matched his desires. This was not coincidence, it was the law in operation. Now, some of you might be wondering about timing. You might be thinking, how long will this take? When will I see results? I tell you, time is purely psychological. What seems to take months or years in Caesar's world can happen in an instant when you succeed in reaching the right state of consciousness. In 2025, you must learn to live in the end. The end is the feeling of your wish fulfilled. When you truly capture this feeling and maintain it, time dissolves. The events and circumstances necessary for the manifestation of your desire will unfold naturally and effortlessly. This is why I tell you to disappear from your present state. As long as you are conscious of time, as long as you are waiting for something to happen, you are not living in the end. You are still caught in the consciousness of absence, of wanting, of seeking. This consciousness can only create more wanting, more seeking. Instead, assume the consciousness of already being what you wish to be. Feel it so intensely that it crowds out all other thoughts and feelings. This is what it means to pray without ceasing, to maintain the feeling of your wish fulfilled regardless of appearances. Remember the words of Scripture before they call, I will answer. This means that the fulfillment of your desire already exists. It is not something to be created. It is something to be claimed through your assumption of the right state of consciousness. In 2025, you must learn to trust this process completely. Do not be like doubting Thomas, needing to see before you believe. Be like the Master who said, blessed are those who have not seen and yet believed. Your imagination, fed by your assumption and sustained by your inner conversations, is creating your future now. Let me give you another technique for this transformation. I call it revision. Each night before you sleep, review the events of your day. But do not review them as they occurred. Revise them to match your desired state of being. See them happening in a way that implies the fulfillment of your desires. This is not merely positive thinking or wishful daydreaming. This is actively engaging your creative power to reshape your world. When you revise an event, you are actually changing the seed from which future events will grow. This is why the Scripture says the former things shall not be remembered or come into mind. In 2025, make revision a daily practice. If you had an unpleasant encounter, revise it to be harmonious. If you faced a financial setback, revise it to show abundance. If you experienced any lack or limitation, revise it to demonstrate fulfillment and expansion. Do this faithfully, and you will be amazed at how your world begins to transform. Remember, you are not trying to change things, you are changing yourself. When you change your concept of self, when you succeed in occupying a new state of consciousness, the outer world must change to reflect this inner transformation. This is law. Let me tell you of another success story. A woman came to me in deep depression. She had lost her job, her savings were depleted, and she felt completely worthless. I taught her this principle of revision. Each night she would revise her day to show herself as successful, prosperous, and deeply fulfilled. At first it seemed mechanical, even foolish to her, but she persisted. Within weeks, her entire world began to shift. Opportunities appeared that she could never have planned. People from her past contacted her with profitable ventures. Her bank account began to grow. Most importantly, her feeling of worthlessness disappeared completely. This transformation didn't happen because she changed things in the outer world. It happened because she successfully disappeared from her old state of consciousness and occupied a new one. The outer changes were simply the shadow adjusting to match the new light. In 2025, you must become aware of another crucial principle. Everyone in your world is yourself pushed out. Every person you encounter is simply playing the part that your consciousness has assigned them. Change your consciousness, and they must change their behavior toward you. This is why it's futile to try to change others or to blame them for your circumstances. They are simply reflecting back to you your own state of consciousness. When you successfully disappear from a state of consciousness that attracts negative experiences, the people in your world must either change their behavior or disappear from your life. Remember, consciousness is the only reality. Everything else, people, circumstances, events, are simply shadows cast by your consciousness. Change the consciousness and the shadows must change. This is not theory, this is law. Let me share with you one final technique for your transformation in 2025. I call it the congratulatory scene. Select a scene that would imply the fulfillment of your desire. Make it a scene where someone is congratulating you on having achieved your goal. Feel the handshake, hear the words of congratulation, experience the joy of achievement. Make this scene so vivid, so real, that when you open your eyes, you will feel as though it actually happened. Do this night after night until the feeling of achievement becomes your dominant feeling. This is not visualization or positive thinking. This is entering into a state of consciousness where your desire is already fulfilled. When you succeed in making this state feel natural to you, when you can live and move and have your being in it, your outer world must reshape itself to match this inner conviction. In 2025, you must learn to trust this process completely. Do not be concerned with the how. Do not try to make things happen. Simply occupy the right state of consciousness and let the infinite intelligence within you bring about the manifestation in its own perfect way. Remember, the outside world is dead, subsisting only on the life you give it through your attention and belief. Withdraw your attention from unwanted conditions. Give your full attention and allegiance to your desired state. Live from that state, think from that state, speak from that state. Your transformation in 2025 is not something that will happen to you. It is something that must happen within you. When you successfully disappear from your current state of consciousness and fully occupy the state of your wish fulfilled, the outer world has no choice but to transform itself accordingly. This is the law, and the law does not fail. It operates with mathematical precision. Your task is simply to apply it faithfully, persistently, until your desired state becomes your natural state. Then you will understand the truth of the statement, all things are possible to him who believes. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, remember this, you are all imagination. The world you experience is simply your imagination pushed out. In 2025, claim your rightful place as the operant power in your universe. Disappear completely from states of lack and limitation. Occupy fully the state of your wish fulfilled. Do this faithfully, persist in it. And I promise you, your world must transform to match your new conception of self. This is not magic, not positive thinking, not wishful dreaming. This is the law of consciousness in operation, and it never fails. Let this be your practice in 2025. Die daily to your old self, to your old concepts and limitations. Be born anew each day in the consciousness of your wish fulfilled. Live from that consciousness. Think from it. Speak from it. Do this, and you will experience the truth of the statement, all things work together for good to them that love God. And remember, God is your own wonderful human imagination. The transformation you seek is already complete in the imagination of God, your imagination. Your task is simply to enter into that completion, to occupy it fully, to live from it faithfully. Do this, and watch your world transform in ways you could never have planned or anticipated. For in 2025, you are not seeking to add something new to your life. You are claiming what is already yours by divine.